Good. Welcome. How's the day and the week been so far? All good? I heard some good stuff. As it should be, right? I mean, spending time, money, leaving the family behind. Good. I'm going to get you through GitHub Copilot in 45 minutes, if our little clicky thingy wants to move as well. If PowerPoint wants to move at all. Let's try that again. Sweet. Or not. What's going on? That's going to be the flow of the session. Pretty nice then. Cool. So first of all, as you already know, it's not the first session. Thanks to the sponsors, which means if you see them, thank them. Ask them to spend more money next year, because without sponsors, there's no conference. Or there could be a conference and then you need to sponsor with your money. You know how it goes, right? So 45 minutes, I got 4 topics. I don't want to scare you away. Most of it's going to be, hopefully, live demos. Who's already using GitHub Copilot? Okay. So all the other sessions are even worse than GitHub Copilot? So I can probably skip a few why using it, so we might turn it a bit more into like interaction, right? And then the plan at least was to go through some, who's not using it? Some of you are like playing double sides. Cool. Confuse the speaker. Sure, let's do that. So I'm going to walk you through the basics. The idea is that it's for everyone. We call it developing. There's a little note here at the bottom. Developing to me means it's not just for developers, right? If you're writing PowerShell, if you're doing something with cloud, if you're doing something with DevOps, you're a developer, or at least according to GitHub Copilot. So the starting point in any project is knowing what needs to happen. It's also the biggest challenge, I would say, in any technical part, and that's lack of documentation. So one of the first things, super easy to start with, is how can we use Copilot to help us creating documentation? Then the other part is, how can it become my developer assistant? Who's on the DevOps side? Good. Who's on the only PowerShell side? Good. Who's a developer? Nice, good. I mean, again, trying to get some view on the audience, right? And then last, the DevOps friend. So that's that. So I'm Peter de Tender, originally from Belgium, but I'm local now for a bit more than 3 years, working as a Microsoft technical trainer. I joke about it that it's the easiest job role within the whole Microsoft. Because guess what I do? I do training every single week, or in meantime every single day, because we got 1-day classes as well. Started a long time ago, 96, sounds awful, I'm sorry. Physical data center guy, literally the cabling, the cooling, and then moved to Microsoft Stack, moved to cloud, and then eventually the last 18 months, it's all AI and Copilot. Shouldn't be surprising, right? Who likes AI? Cool. Who's still, there's some cool parts. Who hates it? Good. You got all the contact details. Slides will be provided later on. So first of all, why developing, right? Now to keep it a bit interactive, little game here. When did GitHub Copilot start? When was this little guy born? A, B, or C? Who says A? Good. Who says B? A little bit less. Who goes for C? Oh, good. Well, A was the correct one. So it's a 4-year-old technology, and everybody still calls it brand new, right? By the way, November 22 was ChatGPT going live, and February 23 was Microsoft Copilot going live. Now, you know my background a bit, and to me, that little fellow already got created in 2003. Anyone recognizing it? Seeing that little avatar? Same thing. Cool. So with that, welcome everyone. So why developing using Copilot? Since Most of you mentioned, like, I'm already using it. I'm not going to ask, like, what are some of the examples, because that would take us like a week. But in short, and this, it's only 2 marketing slides. So what is the benefit of using it? Because it's brilliant. As long as you know what you're doing, it's brilliant. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm not a developer, but out of my job, you can imagine being an Azure trainer and, again, more and more AI Copilot, people need to see demos. It's challenging to invent demos, to make them cool, to make them shiny, to build sample apps. That's everything that I needed to do on top of my day-to-day talking through content job, right? I'm not a developer, but in the meantime, I can develop applications. Why? Because out of being Microsoft, I got access to the GitHub bits a lot earlier than a lot of other folks. Where now I could go in and reusing code that was already available. And you could think broad, right? If it's PowerShell scripts, if it's .NET, C#, whatever language you're using, if it's DevOps pipelines, GitHub Actions pipelines, again, that's all code and that's all developing. But the challenge is that you need to know what you're doing. Because if you go out and you go like, well, AI is going to kill my job, maybe, I don't know, maybe a topic next year, right? But for now, I think we're all fine. Why? Because it's not 100% accurate. So as a benefit, it's going to help you completing tasks faster. Give me a snippet of code, validate something, and a few other examples I'll walk you through. The part that I like most is the middle one, being more fulfilled. What it means is happy in your job. I like what I'm doing. Not all the time, and I guess that's the same for all of us, right? And why is it not always fun? That's the last one. It's toil. Anyone no idea what toil is? As a non-native American, was a word that I had to dig in. So it got created by Google a long time ago when they came up with DevOps and SRE. Toil means it's all the stuff that needs to happen in your day-to-day job, but nobody likes doing it. Like the Monday morning stand-up meetings, right? We need to have them, but nobody likes them. And the meetings are fine, but creating that report out of it, or creating documentation, or again, doing all the stuff that it's just boring. But it's so important to keep our apps up and running. So all of that is what now GitHub Copilot is going to become your new colleague, your new friend if you want. What do you need? A lot of options, a lot of text, not too important. 3 versions. Pro version is what probably works for most corporate customers. Small, medium, enterprise, all fine. It's giving you, I would say, the day-to-day use case. And then you got business, everything from pro and a little bit more. And then enterprise, that's for like enterprise organizations. And you can choose, obviously, it doesn't mean that the whole company all of a sudden, or maybe even developer, DevOps teams, all need to go for enterprise. You probably have 90% getting a pro license, 5% the business, and 5% enterprise, or a little bit mixed. And I was like, okay, cool, but that's why we're not using it. Why? Because we got ChatGPT and it's available for almost 3 years now, and it's for free. Guess what? GitHub Copilot, everything I'm going to show you, although I'm using my Microsoft Pro license in the back, but everything I'm going to show you can work on the free edition. Just make sure you do not sign up with your corporate GitHub account, that's it. But apart from that, it's free, you don't need to provide anything, no credit cards, nothing. And it's obviously a little bit more limited. That's why we have that little link on the bottom. That's the boring stuff. Good, so now you got Copilot. You go like, okay, cool, we know the benefits. I like to reduce my toil, right? I want to speed up my life experience and be happy again and writing code. So what do I need? You need to install it. I got 2 examples if you're more on the Java developer side, and yes, it works in Eclipse, IntelliJ as well. But you got VS Code. Anyone not using VS Code? All comfortable in VS Code? Good. Visual Studio, again, it's not just for developers, but it just looks slightly different. So how does it work? VS Code extension, you install it, next, finish, and done. You authenticate, next, finish, and done. Pretty cool, pretty easy. Same on the Visual Studio side. Anyone who wants to see it? Since you're all using it, I assume you all know how it works. You want to see it? Well, you know, 45 minutes is pretty tight, but I can show you some stuff of it. And then at least I got my other demo ready. So you go in VS Code, you go into extensions, you search for GitHub Copilot, and then little desk is a little bit challenging. I always install those 3 ones. The first one is just because I like the layout and not for presenting because I like the light view, but it's not provided by GitHub. But obviously the most important ones are GitHub Copilot, and there's 2 different ones. So why is that important? The first one is checking your account. Your license gives you capabilities, but it's mainly the GitHub Copilot chat that you're going to use on a day-to-day basis. I could show you the same in Visual Studio, but we could do that later on as well. Good, so with that, we got everything up and running. If it's not working, if it's not responding, then the easy solution is give it a push, restart it, and hopefully it's going to work fine as well. So how can we start using it? So the first example here, super lightweight, is documenting. What is documenting? It means give me insights on what, again, the code snippet is about. It could be a full project with 50 PowerShell files, with .NET, Java, whatever development language, README files, anything that you typically store in your repo source control. When are you going to use it? Document a snippet of code. Document the full, class. Document the method. Document the PowerShell script. Or document the whole project. See where I'm getting here? It's called prompt engineering. Which, by the way, within Microsoft, we hate prompt engineering because it's too technical. It scares customers like yourself. Well, maybe not yourself, but we talk about the art of the prompt. Doesn't that sound cool? It's a little bit more cool and shiny. But it's literally because engineering is like, oh, I'm not an engineer, so I cannot use this technology. Where the thing is, it's natural language. You're going to run a question in the same way you would reach out to your project lead. Where now the project lead is sort of turning into GitHub Copilot. The difference between documenting and explaining? Any guess? That's the documentation? Well, it could be, yeah. So documenting is, at least again, think about how does GitHub Copilot look at this, right? Documenting means give me the high-level overview, which means, oh, you're running PowerShell version 7.6.5, whatever it recognizes, right? Or, oh, you're running the latest .NET version, and so on and so on. I'm going to recognize the details of the project. I'm going to provide a description, what it functionally is about. Explaining code is looking into it from a coding perspective. It's almost like literally going through each and every line of code and trying to explain what it does. It's also why later on I'll show you in a demo, you can play with large language models. Not all of them, like the 1800 something we have available nowadays, are available to GitHub Copilot. There's GPT, obviously GPT 4.0. There's a preview 4.5. And then the Claude, the French, what's it called, company? Antronic. Why is this important? Because everyone starts with GPT. It's like the default large language model that you get. But then also finding out, and this is changing every couple of months, typically when each and every vendor produces a new language model, you can see that switching across languages is going to give you better results. So if you want a high-level documentation, I would say GPT is okay. If you want explain code, out of my own experience, nothing official, then the Claude model seems to be better. But again, in 3 months from now, it might be totally different. So how does it work? A couple of keywords here, but I'll show you in a demo. You do add workspace. That's Visual Studio Code, like this is my working environment, right? And then from there, just /explain, and that's it. So the whole prompt engineering, or even the art of the prompt, forget about it. Add workspace /explain, and it's doing it. And if you go like, oh my God, but I'm not here for the exam, right? I'm going to take my prompt, then you could go into the chat and ask, hey, GitHub Copilot, can you please document this for me? Can you explain this for me? That's how easy it is. So I got one little example here. I'll try to do this again from scratch. So it's a little PowerShell. Shouldn't be surprising to most of you, right? I don't know anything about PowerShell, by the way. I know it's there. I know it runs on all platforms. In the meantime, I was there when it went live in 2007, and I never became an expert into it. So this is, to me, a pretty complex little project. It's, I don't know, 2,000 lines of code, something. Pretty much. 2,000 lines of code in PowerShell. Is that complex? Is that a lot? I'm going to unplug the speakers. Too many? Can we optimize this? Maybe, but not yet. So what we're going to do here is, let's say I'm new to the team. I know we got this important tool. If you look at the name Azure MCT Helper, it's a little something that some of our trainers internal were using. It's an old project, but not too important, to get information about like Azure, what kind of demos and build me templates and all that stuff. Now imagine I'm joining the team. I'm new to the team, I'm new to the project, and I want to get up to speed, right? So I'm going to do my add workspace, and I can just select what kind of features do I want to use. So right now I'm going to do explain. And down here I'm using Claude because that's what I used for something else. So GitHub tries, or Copilot at least, tries to remember some of your actions, which means if you had Claude before in the same workspace, it's going to help you and try to remember that. So what it's going to do here is request failed. Nice. Let's try that again. Live demos. Oh, Peter, you should make recordings of this. No, I like showing stuff live. As long as it works, right? Good. Yeah, as well. I got a 5G backup if needed. So this is documentation. I mean, it's not about the content. I mean, we can all argue like, oh, but I was expecting something else. Go back to the prompt and ask for more details. That's how easy it is. Another option is selecting, I don't know, it's not my code, right? Selecting a little snippet here. We run Control-I, that's like the inline chat call, and then we're going to do the same. But now it's not add workspace because I only want to look at that little selection. I'm going to do, can you explain this code for me? Since it's selected, I don't have to write a full prompt like for this selection and so on and so on. It just knows what I'm asking for. Again, it's providing a pretty accurate description. Since we're talking about documentation, let's go back to the side pane. And I go like, okay, thanks. I like to be nice to AI because you never know what's going to happen in the future. Can you rewrite the first paragraph into Markdown so I can add it into the README? That's probably going to take a little bit of time. Allows me to move on. So you know what GitHub is about, you know how to install it, you know how to use it, and I showed you documenting, explaining. Just workspace, explain, or the inline. Where it becomes really fun is now, it's our peer developer friend. It helps you writing code. And again, code, go back to this first slide, it's write me code in .NET, in Java, in whatever language you have. Write me a PowerShell script, grab what I already have and update it. Anything that, again, you're probably doing every single time of your day or a big part of your day, right? And now it's going to help you in writing it. But it's not replacing you because you still need to accept it. So when it provides a suggestion, you're in control. If you go like, okay, this is not what I needed, then rewrite your prompts, and then hopefully the next time, or maybe yes, the third time or the fourth time, it's going to provide you what you were asking for. And it's just that learning curve, I would say, is the same when I talk to my wife. Half of the time, what I'm expecting as an answer, it's not always the same, right? It's typically in the other way as well. But so that's To save you all the text on slides again, I'll make them available offline. In the early days of GitHub Copilot, at least in Visual Studio, it also allowed you to provide your prompt inside the code itself. So what you need to do there was whack, providing an explanation, like, hey, can you do this, can you do that? And it would do that for you. Now what happens if you do whack in a bicep file? It just thinks it's a command, right? So what you need to do, depending a bit on, again, or the language, or the interface, or the I don't know, file format even, it might need 3 forward slashes. So that's just something I wanted to highlight here. And then even then, from there, it allows you to just loop through your existing file, and you just enter, tab, it provides a suggestion, enter the next suggestion, enter the next suggestion. So every now and then, I'm doing quite a lot with bicep templates, no secrets there, out of the job. I go in, I'm gonna ask a prompt, can you add a module to do blah? And then it's like, okay, that works. And then I'm adding the new next line, and it's already adding completions for me. And then I see myself doing enter tab, enter tab, enter tab, enter tab, module is finished. I'll try to show you. So we had a bit of PowerShell to please about 30% of the room. So my next example is using my RM templates, my bicep, or maybe those two combined, why not? So I go in a bicep file. Anyone who's never done anything with bicep, if you know, like, what the hell is bicep? Yeah, cool. You know ARM, Azure Resource Manager? Yeah, so bicep is the new version, newer version, like, I don't know, 3 years already. Start looking into it. Forget about ARM. It's too hard to read, it's too hard to write. Bicep is a lot easier. Anyone in Terraform? Yeah. So if you have Terraform, perfectly fine, nothing wrong with it. But if you have an Azure-only environment, I don't see the reason for Terraform anymore because of bicep. So this is just deploying a web app, and I didn't do anything. I just did enter, enter, and it's, oh, maybe you need a storage account as well. Why does it provide that suggestion? I don't know. Because it just tries to think like, oh, I'm gonna recognize this is an Azure template and maybe you need this other thing. Okay, I'm not gonna accept it, but I'm gonna add forward slash, providing an explanation, and without doing anything besides accepting it, my code works. And then obviously from here, it's like, oh, but wait a minute. You got some information here that I actually don't recognize. This is, again, you need to know what you're doing. You can go back to the prompting. So we can go here, and then the old way is look in the problem, quick fix, that's the IntelliSense from the past. And now we can do fix this error that you gave me using Copilot. So I'm obviously going to use that one. Since I'm inside the file, sorry, it's now asking, I'm asking / fix, but I didn't need to remember that keyword because the prompt suggestion was already there. And it's part of fixing the problem. Now it's not 100% done yet because it's trying to go through one problem at a time. Makes sense. And then back to your in control. It provides a suggestion. It's up to you to read through and then go like, oh, this makes sense. This sounds good. I'm going to accept it. If you don't like it, you go refresh, and then it's going to try again, typically providing the same answer, but slightly different. And then eventually you're going to accept it. And then obviously from here, we could do the same thing, but we could do this different. Going to create a new one. So I'm in, again, the same existing file, where now I could do add a module for, I don't know, Azure storage. What it's doing next is, do I need to zoom in for the ones in the back? Yeah? No, just checking, because every now and then you could go like, oh my God, what's happening on screen? So just double checking. So what it's doing here is starting now with building up references. So what is a reference? Any file that is open. What's important here, it's going to learn from that file. almost real time, just a few seconds. If you have a file with, I don't know, more bicep modules, where you have your own naming conventions or anything else that's important, it's going to try and reuse as much as possible of that. If you have other examples, you can drop them in the same chat window. And then again, it's the art of the prompt where you go like, well, I'm sharing these files as a reference. Don't change them, don't touch them, but use them as an example to build your next piece of code. That's again the difference between that workspace and making it a little bit more granular. So it looked into my open advanced deploy, but I do have some other files where for now it didn't even look into them because I didn't ask for it, I didn't specify. So if I want to add them, I can do that, and then you can see here. Or if you want to add them outside, over here, then it's going to ask you again, what do you want me to do? Anything that's, again, good traditional VS Code. Importing files from another repo, just pointing to, I don't know, local files outside of what you already have. In VS Code, that's the idea. Here it's providing a suggestion. So I asked for Azure Storage. I didn't provide any details, and it's providing me a suggestion. Well, now from here, I can take the next step, move it into the file, insert it. That's a tricky one to me. Insert it where I left my cursor in the middle bicep file. Never works because I never remember where exactly in that file I am. So I'm not a big fan of that one, but I can see the use case. Or the good old copy paste. So pretty convenient. Apart from that, although I didn't ask for it, it's now also providing an explanation. But again, this is pretty new. When I could go like, okay, I'm using Claude, but I want to play with any of the other ones. Let's do GPT-4. Write a module for Azure Virtual Machine running Linux. While it's running, what are some of your coolest examples for the ones who are already using it? Where you go like, mind blow. When it corrects an error. Mm-hmm.
And it might not just be straightforward, and you're typing and you think that it's not going to get the gist of it, but then it does.
Oh, cool. No, I agree. Your colleague next to you, yeah? Mm-hmm. Oh. Nice. Well, reviewing is DevOps, so I'll pick up on your example in the next topic here. So again, it's producing, I think, acceptable code. From here, I would copy paste this in or a new bicep file because I like my modular approach, right? Or I'm just going to inject it, insert it, and then yes, you still need to validate it. So again, that's where you're in control. And you're going to go like, okay, Peter, we know, but we need to repeat it as many times as possible because it's not going to replace you anytime soon. Let's see, what else did I need to show? Chat inline. Ooh, transform code. For the ones who loved ARM templates, well, no, nobody ever loved ARM templates, I guess. For the ones who are still into ARM templates, you grab the code, you open chat. It's recognizing the file because that's the one we have open. And then transform this into bicep. There's a typo. GitHub Copilot doesn't care about that. I don't need to explain what Azure Bicep is for. I don't need to explain that it needs to be in a certain format. I don't need to explain that it needs to keep all my naming conventions, and so on and so on. Again, the art of the prompt. As short as possible, as easy as possible. Transform it, bam, done. This saves me a lot of time. Why? Because we had Azure Quick Start templates for the last, I don't know, almost 12 years, I guess. 2010, almost 15 years. No, ARM 2015. 10 years. And for all my demos, I typically still go to Quick Start templates. Half of them are not working anymore because they're, again, 10 years old. I can easily transform them into Bicep and then showing off to my manager, like, look, I got a new template that I built. It's already in Bicep, and so on and so on. Again, that's one of the cool things. Good, almost there. So we had code writing, documenting, anything where it becomes a peer-friend developer. And now we have the app ready, we got Bicep ready. I would typically show you how to deploy this, showing you that what we get out of GitHub Copilot is actually working, right? And then we're going to move it into DevOps. So what it can do on the DevOps side, it's stepping away from Visual Studio VS Code, but now having it integrated in your GitHub, that's obviously dependency scenario. Everything I showed you is exactly there. You got the chat interface, you can start prompting. Even better, it's providing you prompt suggestions. You open it up and it's going to give you like, oh, maybe this is one of your tasks that you want to do today. Based on all the tasks that you did over the last couple of weeks, together with all the other, 100 million something GitHub user developers. Using telemetry information, it's providing you new prompts every now and then. Same thing, it can help you documenting, writing code, updating code. But then the other one, and that goes back to the example we heard, is it helps you explaining errors and fixing them. Errors in GitHub Actions. Anyone expert in GitHub Action pipelines? Still challenging, right? I got an example that I'll show you quickly where it's using a pipeline from about 2 weeks ago in an Azure DevOps / GitHub Action class I delivered, and going through how to create Bicep. Next to that, going through Azure, creating the credentials, storing them in GitHub as a secret, right? And then running a pipeline and, oh, it's not working. And then, thanks, GitHub Copilot, to show me why it was not working. And then the pull requests. Anyone not working with pull requests? The branching, the forking, pull requesting, source control. I'm not saying it should be the default nowadays, but I assume for most of you it is. One of the challenges there, challenge in technical validation of the code, going through the updates, maybe documenting them, overall reviewing them. The biggest challenge, and again, this is just information coming from GitHub, between I submit my PR and the PR is getting accepted, is the human interface. Because the PR reviewer might be on holiday, or maybe not up to speed on what you actually updated. So spending or maybe wasting so much time. And now you're going to go like, well, my Peter reviewer from yesterday, I'm now partly replacing Peter with GitHub Copilot. And I'll try to show you. I'll start with a PR. So I got, it's a public repo, just a sample repo, nothing too fancy in there, that we use for our AZ 2007. It's our Microsoft GitHub Copilot one-day class with some sample apps. I got a PR, I got a few of them. And then what we need is over here. I changed, and this is only me having permissions in this repo, but this is where your colleagues would show up. And now we're going to go like, well, instead of asking Peter to review, I'm going to ask Copilot to review. From there, and the outcome here is not super fancy, but at least it did the review and everything works nicely fine. It didn't provide any comments. But imagine you have like, I don't know, a .NET application or maybe PowerShell script. You want to throw in some linting validation. You want to fix it. It's going to tell you how to fix it. And so many other things that you could just ask for. You can inject additional scripting and anything else that you want. Like, hey, you can use your GitHub Copilot default reviewing tasks, but I also want you to do this and this and this. Oh no, I'm too fast. I got 10 minutes to go. I was too fast with that example, by the way, not too fast in talking, but I'll show you what I mean. So that's another little help instrument. And then fixing problems. So I had an action, it's a little .NET application. I want to publish this to Azure, so we do the good old .NET build, .NET build, .NET run, .NET publish, all that fun stuff. I created my Azure account, my service principal, right? And then run my pipeline, build works, deployment doesn't work. Okay, why not? Let's check what happens here. Azure login action, credentials, something, something. Well, I created them. I'm not going to show you, it's there. That's not the part of the demo. I created my Azure service principal. I moved it into GitHub secrets. I was pretty sure that everything was configured fine. So I'm like, oh, cool. I explain error. Now, the easy explanation is there's something wrong with your credentials. But what does it mean, right? So I went in here. It's providing a more complete prompt out of the box. It's going to look into your pipeline, and it's going to tell you, I identify what's wrong, and these are my suggestions to validate. First possible option is the service principal stored in GitHub might be incorrect. Again, I checked twice. I actually copy-pasted my service principal again to make sure that the credential content was fine. So it's not that one. Service principal may not have necessary permissions. Oh, that's what I forgot. I created my service principal, and again, try to imagine in a live class where I'm doing most of the explanations, just doing demos. I went into Azure, created my service principal in Entra ID, moved into GitHub because that's the core of the class. And then I was like, oops, I got my credentials stored in GitHub, but I forgot RBAC. I'm not saying that, ooh, thanks to GitHub Copilot, it helped me fixing the problem. But again, think about optimizing your day-to-day job. You would need to go back, you go like, but I already checked my credentials. You would go back into GitHub secrets. Yes, they're there, they're all fine. And then maybe you forget about the other step. I know it's a super easy example because I had no idea about the level in the audience, knowing about GitHub, knowing about DevOps pipelines, knowing about Azure. So trying to make it as easy as possible, but that's literally how powerful it is. I see some folks nodding, so that means you experienced the exact same thing. Good. Oh no, I promised you 4 topics. And now I got 5. Why? Because I got 7 minutes to go. Actually, perfect timing. Cool. Nobody asked, I'm actually a bit surprised. Nobody asked about agents. We had AI as a buzzword 18 months ago. We had Copilot as the next buzzword 14 months ago. And now for the last 4 months, the new buzzword is AI agents. It means if you're not talking about agents, it's not a good session. Was it a good session so far, by the way? Good, cool. Agents. Agents are in preview. I'm quite happy that everything worked out so far, but I'm going to try something new. A demo on agents. To make it even more exciting, I'm going to do everything from scratch, although I do have a backup plan if needed. So in short, what are agents? Everything I showed you, like, can you please do this? Can you help me with that? Can you document it? Can you write code? Can you do some other steps, fixing problems if you see them? Define all those steps back to back. I want you to do step 1, next do step 2, next do step 3, next do step 4. But going back to the core of large language models, it's natural language. I need to create a .NET example. Sorry, because none of you are or not a lot of you are developers, but you know what .NET is. Oh yeah, because PowerShell runs on .NET. Cool. Stupid question, Peter. So I'm going to try create me a .NET application. I have no idea how to do that. With a specific version, next to that, customize the web page because command line console apps are so boring. I like showing web applications, right? So I'm going to ask for a .NET web application. Rewrite the home page, add some stuff into it. Since it's running in GitHub code spaces, because I like a challenge for my last demo, it has integrated source control. I'm going to ask, build all this for me, start up the app. When it's running fine, commit everything in source control using a specific commit message. That's, I guess, for a lot of you, the day-to-day job that now it's just going to run one single prompt. I'm going to try do this live. I got 5 minutes. Starting point. New repo. I'm the owner. New repo. PSConf 1500. It's public. Add a README. License, not important for now. I got some code. I'm going to go into code spaces. I'm going to create a new one. If you don't know what code spaces is, it's like Visual Studio in the cloud, where you're paying for the little virtual machine compute in the backend. Good, it's gone. So what do we get from here? Built-in GitHub Copilot. Why? Because it recognizes my user account, I got my license. I mean, that's all covered, so I don't need to worry about that part. To use the agent, you need to switch, so by default, you get the stable version, but then you need to switch to the preview version. It's called Insiders, I think, in this little pop-up here. And again, it remembers this out of my profile, but obviously the first time you need to change it. Why do you need to change it? Because from here we go into our chat, and what you get with Insider Preview and Agent is where it has the ask for the backend room. The typical ask, same in VS Code, same in Visual Studio. I can now switch to Agent. I'm going to save myself a little bit of time because nobody likes seeing typing, but this is again is my use case. Create an ASP.NET app using the latest .NET framework, add necessary NuGet package for Azure AI, because in the end my app will run OpenAI at some point. Use the latest version that you know, create it in the current directory, and then once ready, update the welcome page and like the default boilerplate code in .NET, change it with psconf and write that in dark blue, and then below the text add an image placeholder where I'm using some web service called Lorem Pixum. It's just a free website, but I don't need to specify that. Launch the app, and then all the way at the end, commit code. One simple prompt. And let's see what happens. Fast enough, I got 3 minutes. I knew this because the first time, always the first time it's failing. Cool, so prompt number 1, create me a new ASP.NET application using the latest version. Oh, looks like it's .NET new, but that's for developers. I'm not a developer, I told you. But thanks for not only helping me writing code, but now it's also helping Peter turning into a developer. Because next time I can show off like, oh, I can write a new app, .NET new, look at me, core developer. You don't need to know that anymore. Continue. It's moving into the terminal and it's doing all the .NET crazy stuff, except fonts, sure. Next to that, I asked, can you inject the Azure AI OpenAI NuGet package? Again, I had to know that it's NuGet, obviously reading the .NET docs, and then adding the package, but I didn't specify it needs to be this package. So it knows out of my natural language that the official package is called azure.ai.openai. Sounds good to me. The little bit I know from developing is check your CS project file, and then here your NuGet packages will show up. Version 2.1.0, anyone who are maybe more into NuGet, you might validate if it's the latest version. Next step is run that command, .NET run. Launch the app, okay. Install C# devkit, nope, not gonna do that. That's not Copilot, it's just Visual Studio recognizing. Then we're here in the middle. It created my index HTML where I knew from obviously other sample code, there's a welcome word, and I asked, can you please update this with psconf Bellevue in dark blue? Add a placeholder image from that cool website. Looks like we're building some apps here. I'm in control, I'm gonna keep this code. Launch the app, sounds good. No errors in code. Working. GitHub Copilot is too slow because it's 5 after, so I should stop. Do you want to see the end result? You guys are so nice. Your application is available. Open a browser. Look at that, we built a website. Oh, last step. Now I lost my view. Over here. Last step. So it recognized like the app got launched. Why? Because .NET Run happened over here. And I think you should actually see that. There we go. .NET Run. Opening on port, blah, blah, blah. All works fine. Next step is, can you please commit the changes? Oh, look at source control. We got all the files here, obviously no secrets, it's all new. Commit the changes. Oh, you can do this with git add dots. Too hard for me. Oh, look at that new commit, Peter PSConf live. I forgot to add that it was okay to sync changes. But that's why we got prompting. Cool. So with that, thanks everyone. I got 2 more slides to cover. So the first one is thanking you for being here, because without an audience, you don't need a speaker. But then I also know that everyone's asking for stickers. I'm from the 90s, at least professionally. To me, stickers is bringing me back 30 years back in time. I had no idea that stickers were still so important. Maybe because on my machine, I'm not allowed to add stickers anymore. What I have in return is a little badge that you can create yourself. So it's a little app that Peter built using GitHub Copilot that connects to Azure OpenAI in the backend. The only thing you need to provide is your own prompt. And then it allows you to create those little cool pins that maybe if I'm back next year, I'm going to print some of those bad pins and handing them out. Last one here. Thanks for being here, bud. I also want to know that you liked it, not just vocally. I mean, it's all getting recorded, so you admitted all that it was a good session. But show the organization that it's a good session. Not just mine, but all the other ones, you know how it goes. With that, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the conference.